Want gorgeous Valentine Day decor without breaking the bank? Hi, I'm Katie from Lady Red Crafting, and today I'm turning Dollar Tree finds into beautiful decor. So let's get crafting. Let's decoupage some hearts and make a beautiful piece of art. For our first step, we're going to use this beautiful napkin that I found at HomeGoods and these little wood hearts that I found from the Dollar Tree. I'm taking a piece of cardboard and I'm going to tape down 9 of these hearts. I'm using the bigger hearts in the package because I think this will make a nicer piece. Now, using my Waverly chalk paint in the color white, I'm going to go ahead and paint all of these hearts. Now, before I get a comment out there, I did notice that that top heart on the left was not going the same direction as the other heart. So I did flip that one over and painted the other side just so that everything will match. Now, while our paint is drying, I'm going to go ahead and prep my napkin. This napkin I did get at HomeGoods, and to prep the napkin, all I'm going to do here is I'm going to unfold the napkin, flip it over, and remove the back 2 layers of the napkin. Those extra pieces of napkin, I just use in my craft room to help clean up messes, or I use them to stuff different pieces if I need to do that. And then I'm going to repeat those same steps on my second napkin. Now that I have my napkins prepped, I'm going to come in with some scissors and I'm going to cut them into 4 quadrants. This is going to allow me to easily add this to my little hearts later on so that we have a smaller piece to work with. Now let's go back to those little hearts. I'm taking my Mod Podge and matte and I'm going to go ahead and paint a nice coat of Mod Podge over the top of all of these hearts. Then we're just going to let this dry. Once these hearts have dried, I'm going to remove a few of them from our piece of cardboard just to make it a little bit easier for me to decoupage. And by moving these hearts a little bit further apart from each other, this is going to allow me to add those quadrants of the napkins on top of each one of these little hearts. And I strategically lay these napkins over the hearts in the way that I want the flowers to look on top of the hearts. I don't want each of these hearts to be the exact same. So when you see me laying these pieces of napkin on top of each of these hearts, I'm actually putting them in different spots on the napkin. So then that way we'll get different sets of flowers. So they'll all look a little bit different, but match the same coloring for our piece. Now, once you're satisfied with your napkin placement, I'm going to take a piece of parchment paper and carefully lay that on top of these 4 hearts. Then using my hot iron, I'm going to iron each one of these napkins into place on the hearts. Next, we just remove that piece of parchment paper, and I'm going to take these hearts off of the piece of cardboard. Next, I went ahead and grabbed my little zip sander here, and this is one of my favorite tools in my toolbox. And I'm just going to sand in a downward motion on these hearts to remove the excess napkin. Now, if you don't have one of these little finger sanders, you can also use a sanding block, a piece of sandpaper, an emery board, or if you want, you could also take a razor blade and very carefully remove that excess paper. And now that we have our first heart complete, we're going to repeat these steps to get all of our 9 hearts decoupaged and sanded and ready to go for our piece of art. So instead of having you guys watch all of this, I will just go ahead and speed this up until all of those hearts are done. So now that we have all 9 hearts decoupaged, I'm going to take those same hearts and put them back onto our piece of cardboard here. And I'm just going to tape those down again because I want to seal all of these in. So I'm going to put these back on the cardboard, and then I'm going to take my Rust-Oleum clear enamel. This is one of my favorite sealers for decoupage to help keep from having any wrinkles come through. And off camera, I did take these outside and I sprayed these to seal our pieces in. Now, while that is drying, I'm grabbing one of these wall decor pieces that I found from the Dollar Tree, and these are one of my favorite pieces to craft with right now, so you'll probably see them in a few of my videos. But I'm just going to unwrap this piece, and what I love about it is this wood frame is really hardy and looks very nice, and I think it looks way more high-end than something from the Dollar Tree. But I do want to change out what's in the center here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove the center piece. And then I am going to take my Waverly chalk paint in the color white, and we're going to go ahead and just paint our piece. And now that we have our blank slate, I'm going to go ahead and lay out my hearts. I'm also going to use this cute little love wood cutout that I found at the Dollar Tree and replace that with one of the hearts instead. So I'm actually ended up using only 8 of the hearts instead of 9. Now to attach all of these pieces, I'm going to be using my Type Bond Quick and Thick glue. And we're just going to lift one heart at a time and just glue them into place. And then once we have all of our hearts glued into place, we're going to go ahead and just let this dry for a little bit. And now that everything has dried, let's go ahead and add back our frame. And now our piece is complete. I absolutely love how this turns out. This is such a fun decoupage piece that you can do to decorate your house for the season. Let me know what you think about this piece down in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this content, please consider hitting that like or subscribe button. It really helps my channel grow and reach more viewers like you. Thank you for watching. I love using budget supplies to make beautiful decor pieces. This heart I did find at Walmart. The rest of the items I found at Dollar Tree. So I'm using these stickers that I found at Dollar Tree, and they're just these little lines of dot stickers. And we're going to add those dots to the perimeter of our heart. Now, once we have all of our stickers added to our heart, I'm going to take this Elaine's Tacky Glue. I got mine at Dollar Tree, but you can also find this at some of the different craft stores. Then we're going to go ahead and just add this glue on top of the heart. I'm going to start out by just adding the glue like this to the heart, and then I'm going to grab a paintbrush and I'm going to paint this so that it's coating the whole entire thing. We're going to cover up those stickers and all of the pieces. Next, I'm going to grab some aluminum foil. Yes, that's right, aluminum foil. And we're going to take this aluminum foil. I'm going to make sure I get a piece that's big enough to cover my heart. And then I'm going to crinkle it up and unroll it. And then we're going to add this right on top of our heart. And what we're going to do here is we're going to lay this out very gently and just set that down on the heart. Then I take a dry paintbrush, and this is just a round paintbrush, and I'm just going to use it to lightly press down that foil into all of the creases of the heart, around those stickers and around that center heart, just so we can get a lot of texture and dimension to our piece. Next, I'm going to go ahead and paint our heart using vintage tea rose from Folk Art. And once that has dried, I'm coming in with my Parchment colored paint from Folk Art. And we're going to take that and dry brush that around all of the pieces on our heart. So around those stickers and around that center heart. It really just emphasizes all of those fun wrinkles that we have and texture in our piece. And now, before I do anything else, I'm going to come in with my Rust-Oleum matte clear enamel, and we're going to seal our piece. Off camera, I did take this outside and I sprayed this and let this dry. Now, once our piece has been sealed and dried, I'm going to come in with a razor blade, and we're just going to slice off any of that excess foil. So I'm just really carefully going around that heart, and then we're going to remove that foil. Now, once the foil has been removed, I'm going to go ahead and set this heart aside. Now I'm going to grab one of these bamboo cutting boards from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to take my parchment paint that I used earlier from Folk Art, and we're going to whitewash this board. And to do this, I'm just going to add the paint, and I'm going to dry brush over the top of the board. Now, while that is drying, I'm going to go ahead and tape down this little Be Mine cutout that I found at the Dollar Tree a few years ago, and it's been sitting in my stash. I'm going to take some of my Folk Art brown satin paint, and we're just going to go ahead and paint this little piece. Now it's time to take all these pieces and put them together. I'm going to start out by using some quick and thick Titebond glue, and we're going to put this on the back side of our heart. If you haven't used this glue before, it is great for a permanent hold. I'm also going to be using just a little bit of hot glue to give us an immediate hold so that everything will dry and stay into place. And once we have our heart into place, I'm going to go ahead and add some of that Titebond quick and thick glue again to the back of the Be Mine piece. And I'm using a paintbrush to apply the glue. And I'm just going to add that to the bottom left side of our piece. And then for our final touch, I'm going to add this beautiful vintage bow that I made with some vintage lace. And I'm just going to be using some hot glue to add that to our heart. And we could stop there, but I thought that the bow needed just a little bit more color. So I added a little more hot glue and a little brown bow on top of the lace just to allow that bow to really pop. And here is how our piece turns out. I just love this piece. I used brown and pink, which were my wedding colors, so this piece feels a little extra special to me. I love how soft, cozy, and timeless it turned out. Simple, but full of heart. Let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. Get crafty with Lady Red's monthly newsletter. Tips, behind the scenes, and exclusive giveaways. Subscribe now in the description box below. It's free, so what do you have to lose? Thanks! So browsing the Crafter Square section in Dollar Tree, I found this adorable heart canvas. We're going to be using this today with a napkin that I found at HomeGoods. For our first step, we're going to take that napkin and I'm just going to unfold it and remove the back two layers of this napkin. That first layer was really easy to remove, but for that second layer, I did use a little piece of painter's tape to help me disconnect that piece from the front of our napkin. And for this piece, I'm only going to need one quadrant of the napkin, so I'm just going to cut out one of these hearts. Now that we have our napkin ready, I'm going to go back to that heart. I'm taking some Mod Podge, and this is the matte color Mod Podge, and I'm going to just paint that Mod Podge over the top of the heart. So this next part is a little bit tricky to explain. I didn't get a great visual on this with my camera, but I'm going to try to explain this the best that I can. I'm going to take a little black heart that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm using this as my template. I'm putting that on top of the napkin, and I'm deciding where on the napkin I want to be featured onto my white heart. Then I'm going to go ahead and just lay that napkin over the top of the wet Mod Podge, and then I'm going to remove that black heart. That heart is where I'm going to have the center of our piece. Once I've done this, now I need to get that napkin adhered to the piece. So what I'm going to do is take some cling wrap, lay that over the top, and just lightly press this down, and using my roller, seal this onto our piece. Now we're just going to remove that cling wrap, and then make sure that everything is nice and dry. Once this is dry, I am going to come back in with my matte Mod Podge, and I'm going to go ahead and paint a coat over the top to seal everything in. Now, once the Mod Podge is completely dry, I did come over with a little piece of cling wrap, and I just lightly rubbed over the top, and then I actually used my roller just to make sure everything was nice and smooth. This is a little trick you can do. I usually do it about 20 minutes after the Mod Podge is dried, but I feel like this gives a really nice, no wrinkle finish to your piece. Next, I use my zip sander, and I'm going to sand in a downward motion to remove the excess napkin. If you don't have a zip sander, a sanding block or emery board would work fine. Now, going back to that little black heart we had earlier, I'm going to position that right in the center of my piece, and then I'm taking this apple barrel paint pen, and this is a black paint pen. And yes, this is going to look funny at first, so just trust the process here. We're going to trace the heart onto our canvas using that black paint. Now I grabbed my ink-colored chalk paint from Waverly, and this is just the black chalk paint that I'm using. You can use whatever paint you'd like. And I'm just going to go ahead and paint around the outside of the heart, on the top of the heart, and then down the sides of the canvas as well. I find by doing this, it gives a really nice polished look to our piece. Now, once all of that paint has dried, we're going to take out some Crackling medium from Folk Art. And this is such a fun product to use. So if you haven't tried it before, give it a try sometime. I'll put a link for it down in my description box below. So what we're going to do here is when we take this Crackling medium, we're going to paint over the top of the black paint. And I'm going to try to do one coat if I can without going over it too much. I don't want to overwork the medium. Then we're going to let this dry completely. And now that our piece is completely dry, I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint in the color white, and we're going to paint a nice coat of paint over the top of the medium. We're going to not overwork the paint and try to do this in one nice coat. To start, I am just going to paint around the perimeter of the heart. I'm going to allow for that to dry, and we'll see the fun crackling effect. Once we're done with the outside perimeter, we'll go ahead and work on the top part of our piece and do the exact same step, adding the white paint, letting it dry, and then letting it crackle. And I just love how this crackling effect turns out with this medium. Now to add some final touches to our piece. What I'm going to do here is I'm flipping the piece over and I'm taking a little piece of satin ribbon and we're going to attach a little hanger to the back. And to do this, I'm just using a little bit of hot glue and I fold the ribbon like a little fish, and the tail is what I end up gluing to the back of the heart. And now that our hanger is attached, I'm going to flip our heart over, and on the front side of this heart, we're going to add a little bow to the top, just using a little bit of hot glue, and then we'll add our bow. And now here's our finished heart. I'm honestly in love with it. The crackling gives it that perfect imperfection, well-loved look that makes handmade decor so special. If this inspired you, please leave me a comment down below. I really appreciate hearing from all of you. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button below. It really helps my channel grow. Thanks! If you love these easy Dollar Tree DIYs, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a new craft. Your support truly helps my channel grow. Drop a comment and tell me which decor piece you're making first. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. As always, please remember, craft more, stress less.